We've talked about Heliot Ramos a fair amount over the course of the 2025 season for a myriad of different reasons. You obviously have the inside the park Little League walk-off homer that happened in April. You have some of the defensive lowlights that have happened over the course of the season, even going back to last week where there was that play where Ramos kind of spikes the throw, and that was because of a miscommunication. As far as some of the relays, you have the month of May where he was one of the best hitters on the Giants, where he had an OPS in the range of 1,000. Just a lot of different reasons as to why we've talked to Ramos over the course of the season. There was obviously the infield fly rule a couple of weeks ago. Again, so a lot of different reasons as to why we've talked about and why I've written about Heliot Ramos over the course of this season. But today was interesting. Today was, for a myriad of different reasons, definitely one of the more unique days that Heliot Ramos has had as a major leaguer, and it starts before the game. This morning, the San Francisco Chronicle publishes a story, and part of that story was Ramos talking about how even amidst this downturn that the Giants have had over the last couple of weeks, that the Giants still have the support of manager Bob Melvin. And what happens in turn is that another publication takes those comments, takes them out of context, and makes it seem that Ramos was kind of turning on Giants fans. And this story from the other publication in turn catches a lot of fire. KNBR, the Giants' flagship radio station, makes a couple tweets in regards to those comments, and a lot of fans become very incensed with these comments, not understanding the full context of what was trying to be said. And before the game, Ramos clarified what he was trying to say with the comments, saying that, of course, he loves the fans. He even recounted a story after the game where he remembered a fan that parked, he saw Ramos at T-Mobile. He parked his car, walked inside to get an autograph, and Ramos took the photo. Ramos has talked about every time that he and his family are out and fans see him, he'll take pictures, he'll chat with them. And so he did not want to make an indictment on the fans. What he was trying to say is that inside clubhouse doors, there are things that the outside world, and that even includes us as reporters, just aren't privy to, and that they have the support of manager Bob Melvin, even amidst, again, a pretty rough period of time for the San Francisco Giants. And as far as some of the reactions, again, on social media, if you just search Heliot Ramos' name on Twitter, you'll see exactly what I mean. So this leads into the game itself, and maybe 3 pitches into the game, Ramos instantly kind of becomes a main character in this one as he sends an 88.4 mile per hour four-seam fastball by Nestor Cortez over the left field fence for a solo homer. Rafael Devers immediately follows up with a solo homer of his own. That makes it a 2-0 game, and then 3 batters later, following a one-out double by Casey Schmidt, Wilmer Flores hits a homer of his own. That makes it a 4-0 game. Ramos and Devers became the first Giants since, I'm forgetting the names, but I tweeted it out. First time since 1964 that 2 Giants have led off a road game with back-to-back homers. So if Ramos was hitting a homer in the top of the first inning, he was partially responsible for taking one away in the bottom of the second inning. What happens is Xander Bogaerts, facing Robbie Ray, hits a towering fly ball to left field. Ramos knows, he doesn't exactly have to spring out for this ball, kind of gives chase, he's tracking the ball, has the right hand out, is trying to track where the ball is, reaching up for the fence. As that ball is coming down, he reaches up, not right hand, he reaches up with his left hand to try to field the ball, doesn't exactly have to leap over the fence. And at the same time that's happening, another fan, if this detail matters to you, wearing a black ABBA shirt, reaches over and makes contact with the ball. And the way that Ramos recounted it is that this fan's entire body was kind of over Ramos as he was trying to make the catch. And another point that Ramos made was that you see that fan, but then you're able to see another. What the replay doesn't show is that there's another fan who's kind of on top of him. And the ball, as a result of this, deflects off of his glove and just trickles into the left field bleachers, and it's a solo homer for Xander Bogaerts. And Ramos immediately kind of gestures to the fans in left field to say, hey, there's fan interference going on here. And following a pretty lengthy replay review, was the replay of the homer was played a lot of times over here on the scoreboard. Following a pretty lengthy review, that call is eventually overturned, and there's just this cascade of boos that rain down here at Petco Park. And Petco Park, even for a Monday, not even just for a Monday, this stadium, I will give flowers to the stadium. They've done a phenomenal job of bringing out crowds the entirety of this season, but that just means there's more people to just rain boos down. And what ends up happening is that for the rest of the game, anytime Ramos did anything, and especially when he came to the plate, he would just get this avalanche of boos just directed at him. And when we talked to him after the game, he said it was kind of like the Hannibal Buress in the Eric Andre show. He's like, "What are you booing me for? I'm right." He's kind of saying, I'm not the one that overturned the call. I was just trying to do my job, and then you kind of directing these boos at me. Now, that being said, Ramos didn't exactly do himself any favors, because once the call was overturned, he was kind of having some fun with the fans over there in left field, kind of pointing at some of them, kind of laughing at them, and it's all in good fun. It's all well warranted. So that's kind of the flip side of that. So instead of it being a 4-1 game, it ends up being a 4-0 game, and that would remain the score until the top of the 7th inning. For the first 6 innings of this game, Robbie Ray was cruising. We didn't really have any traffic that he had to navigate. Through those first 6 innings, he had only allowed the 1 base hit. But then in the top of the 7th inning, third baseman Casey Schmidt commits an error, and that eventually leads to 3 unearned runs. Robbie Ray's final pitch of the night ends up being a 2-run homer that he allows to the Padres' Ryan O'Hearn, who, funny enough, has not faced left-handed pitchers a lot during his tenure with the Padres. And in the kind of a blink of an eye, it goes from being a 4-0 game where the Giants had this commanding 4-0 lead right out the gate to a 4-3 game. And now the Giants were going to have to cover 7 outs, beginning with 2 outs in the top of the 7th. And following Ray's departure, Ryan Walker and Randy Rodriguez take it from there. Ryan Walker, who just became a dad for the second time. Is that the way he welcomed his second child into the world this past weekend? He was on the paternity list. Keaton Wynn is an option to AAA Sacramento in the corresponding move. Ryan Walker records the final out of the 7th inning, pitches a clean bottom of the 8th inning, and then Randy Rodriguez enters in the bottom of the 9th, works around a 1-out single to close the game down. And appropriately enough, the final out of this game was a fly ball hit by O'Hearn that went to Ramos. And after the game, and once he had the catch, Ramos just kind of throws it into the crowd. A very appropriate end. Again, just a day where not even from first pitch, from pregame to the first inning to the second inning, all the way until the very end, it was a game that kind of just revolved around Ramos at all of these various different intersections. And again, given the pure quantity of what unfolds today, it will definitely go down as one of the most unique days in Heliot Ramos' Major League career.